So I've got a bit of a feeling of deja vu, because here we are again in Australia with the new Navara. This time we're here for the launch and not just the reveal, which means that we can actually drive this thing on the road and not just tootle around that off-road park like we did last time. It's the same story though. This Navara is very Triton in its ways. Nissan Australia likes to say that it's on the Alliance platform, which I mean I can't deny because it factually is, but in the real world setting that means that it just shares almost everything it's got with the Triton. The one thing that differentiates it though is the suspension system. That was developed in Australia by Premcar, who before their final sign-off run, they covered more than 18,000 kilometres around some of Australia's harshest conditions. They also tuned it in New Zealand as well, and they say that it's perfectly suited to our roads. So today we're going to have a look at this Navara and see just how well that suspension translates from its off-road abilities, which were quite good, to an on-road situation where most owners will probably spend 80 to 90% of their time. Anyway, let's dive in before we go driving and take a look at it. So beneath the bonnet, the similarities with the Triton continue because you've got the same 2.4 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine. It pumps out 150 kilowatts, 470 newton meters of torque, and Nissan have kept things interesting this time for their customers. They're not offering many options. It's paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission and a 4-wheel drive system as standard. So now we're on the inside of the Navara. This one isn't the range-topping Pro 4X, because that thing, you'll notice it has all those crazy orange accents around the cabin. This one is far more reserved. It's just a nice grey and black situation. There's soft touch materials around a lot of it, which is a premium feeling, but you have got a few scratchy plastics, but hey, I can't be too harsh. This is, after all, a commercial vehicle, so it's not going to be too luxurious. You do get a 9-inch infotainment display up here, and then a 7-inch digital cluster which sits between the two analog gauges, which is quite cool in the middle here. There is a lot of piano black down the center and the center console here around the gear selector and drive mode selector. That's obviously going to get quite scratched up with daily hard use, and I don't know, piano black is just something that we can never escape, obviously. The other highlights, you have a wireless phone charger up here, a USB-A and a USB-C port. You've got tactile buttons for all your air conditioning and climate controls, which is a big plus in my eyes. You've got this kind of faux carbon fiber thing on the door cards here, and the seats in Navara branded. Apparently they are specific to the Nissan, so that's another thing that differentiates it from the Triton. Other than that, it's a pretty standard affair. It's nothing too flash, but it doesn't need to be because fundamentally this is just a workhorse. And finally, I also want to add that this infotainment system gets both wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, which is a nice touch. So in the back here, it's a pretty standard affair. It's the same as up front. There's half decent seats, but there's still the same scratchy plastics, but again, you're not going to expect a lot. You have got roof vents for the air conditioning and these fun little flap things that you can obviously change the direction of them, which is a nice touch. USB-A and USB-C port down here, as well as a cigarette lighter power outlet thing. I will say that in the front there, the front driver's seat has electric adjustment, and right now that is exactly where I'd sit, and I have got a decent amount of room. I wouldn't be complaining if I was sitting here for a long time. As for the backrest, you can't do a lot in these utes because they are very 90 degrees to try and maximize space in the tray, so it isn't particularly comfortable, but that's something that you'll find across the segment, so I'm not going to complain about that. Other than that, it's just it's just a nice place to be. I can't really fault it. So that's what we're dealing with this new Navara. Let's go and see how it goes out in the wild. So while we did get to drive the Navara late last year, we were not allowed out of that little weird off-road park in Adelaide. Whereas now, as you can see, we're on the main streets of Canberra, which provide a very different driving experience to those rough red dirt hills of Adelaide. So there's really no two ways about it. The main selling point for this Navara over the Triton, of which it shares, I don't know, almost everything, is the suspension. And all through the press conference and presentations, the suspension, it's really the only thing that Nissan Australia would talk about. So I feel like we've got to address it. The Navara is good, but that comes with a caveat of saying that it's good for a ute, because while it does have Premcar suspension, you're not going to go and reinvent the wheel and overnight make one of the best riding utes using the same hardware as what this ute comes from as standard, if you know what I mean. This suspension package is actually fitted by dealers, so it doesn't actually ship with it. As I was saying, the suspension is really the be-all and end-all of why you'd buy this Navara over a Triton. In the real world, it isn't amazing, but it rides well for a ute. I mean, I could also speak to the engine performance, but really, there's nothing to write home about. It sounds pretty agricultural, it's not particularly fast, nor is it massively torquey, but it is adequate for this situation, and with its tow rating of 3.5 tonnes braked, I think it'd be more than capable of it. But anyway, that's enough of the on-road stuff. We're just about to hit some more gravel roads around the back of Canberra, so I'll check back in then. So we're now on these rutted gravel back roads, as you can tell, and the suspension still is holding up okay. The speed limit might be a little high for what I would estimate for a road like this with this many potholes in it, but the Navara's handled it well. I feel like lesser cars would have shaken themselves apart a lot sooner, so I am quite impressed in that regard. But I still kind of feel the same as what I said before, in the fact that the suspension system seems to find itself better suited to off-road situations with far larger and more intense ruts than the kind of little fussy stuff you find on a regular back road in Australia or New Zealand in our case. But in saying that, it's still really impressive. This obviously semi-high speed gravel stuff is also a good way to test the steering. It's obviously an electronic power steering system, which is a first for the Navara, and Bernie Quinn of Premcar mentioned that this is something that they focused a lot on to try and make it feel like you're driving a regular car as opposed to a big ute, and it does feel good. Like, compared to other things in this segment, it does feel more direct and quicker. Like, you don't kind of have to wait for your steering inputs to make a difference. But in saying that, you've got to remember it's the same thing with the suspension, that these are fundamentally commercial vehicles that are designed to do a job, so they're never going to drive as good as the cars that I guess we'd want them to. The only exception obviously is like something like that Ranger Raptor, but then again, you're almost paying double than, especially in this case, because this is a Navara SDX, which is I think the best part of around 60 grand or so, so you're paying another third on top of it to get something that drives more performance car like. So I don't think this is a bad compromise at all. So that's the new Navara. Now, it's not going to be topping any list or anything anytime soon, and I think that's down to the cost-cutting exercises that Nissan has done with this in basing it on the Alliance platform and making it very similar to one of the more cheaper utes on the market. What they have done, however, is differentiate it in probably the most important way from that Triton, in the fact that this rides a lot better and feels like a lot more competent of a ute on the road. At the end of the day, it's one of the most cost-effective options in New Zealand still, and it wouldn't surprise me to see plenty on the road in the coming years.